Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you will consider subscribing. So today I have another really fun video for you. I've been looking forward to making this video. First of all, it's because we are in the middle of winter and I'm really wanting to think spring, and this is kind of a spring thing. I'm gonna bring you some sunshine today for those of you who are in the deep freeze like I am here in central Ohio. But I'm also excited about it because it is a recipe that I have had requested a number of times. So today we are going to be canning up lemon curd. Now we are in the middle of winter, so it is citrus season. So you can readily find lemons available in your grocery store. I do want to point out that you can use this recipe to make lemon or lime curd. It is not recommended for use with other types of citrus, but lemon or lime curd is totally fine. We are going to be using the recipe from the National Center of Home Food Preservation to make our lemon curd. There are a number of precautions, so I hope you will watch this video in its entirety because there are some things that I'm going to point out to you that are really important. This recipe has eggs in it, which are not typically permitted in canning, but this is a tested recipe, so we are going to follow it to the letter of the law so that our lemon curd is safe. So please do not make any changes to this recipe other than swapping the lemons for lime if you prefer lime curd over lemon. I do want to point out that this was really fun to make and it turned out absolutely delicious. I am really happy with the results. Since I've never made it before, this was kind of an experiment for me. It was really fun and really delicious. The other thing I wanted to point out is there is a recipe for lemon curd in the all new ball book. Please note the recipe in this book is for freezing only. It is not safe for canning. Please do not use this recipe and then use the canning instructions that I'm going to show you here in this video. The recipe in here is for freezing only. We're gonna do some things that are gonna help keep us safe, but there are some ingredients that you may not necessarily have on hand. One of the things that they want us to use is ultra-fine or superfine sugar. I was able to find this at my Meijer. I didn't have any trouble finding it. If you have trouble finding it in your grocery store, the National Center of Home Food Preservation recommends that you run your regular granulated sugar through a food processor before using it in this recipe. You are also going to need a candy thermometer, so make sure you have a candy thermometer on hand as well. So let's get started with the list of ingredients. It's lemon curd, so it's very simple. We need 2.5 cups of superfine or ultrafine sugar, which I just showed you. A 1/2 cup of lemon zest from freshly zested lemons is optional, but I highly recommend that you use it. It added so much flavor to my lemon curd and it was absolutely delicious. It was about the zest of 3 lemons. We need to use 1 cup of bottled lemon juice. To stay safe here, please, please, please do not use fresh lemon juice. It is not permitted to be used here. We're going to use bottled. The acidity in this is really important for safety. The other thing you're going to need is 3/4 of a cup of unsalted chilled butter cut into approximately 3/4 inch pieces. I just used sticks of butter. I cut them in half, flipped them over, cut them in half again, and then just cut small squares from that. We need 7 large egg yolks and 4 large whole eggs. The equipment you're going to need is a lemon zester, of course, if you use the lemon zest. You're going to need a whisk. You're going to need a double boiler or a pan with a bowl that will sit on top of it without touching the bottom of touching the water that's in the bottom of the pan. You need a fine mesh strainer. You're going to need a thermometer, mixing bowl, a silicone spatula or cooking spoon. This recipe is going to make 3 to 4 half-pint jars. I found that to be very accurate. I didn't have quite enough to fill up the 4th jar, so okay, now this part is really, really important for you to pay attention to. When you are prepping your canner for canning this, you want the water in your canner, whether if you're water bath canning or steam canning, either one, the water in your canner needs to be right about 180 degrees. You do not want it above that. They caution, and I'm going to read exactly how it is worded from the National Center of Home Food Preservation. Do not heat the water in your canner to more than 180 degrees before jars are added. If the water in the canner is too hot when the jars are added, the process time will not be long enough. The time it takes for the canner to reach boiling after the jars are added is expected to be 25 to 30 minutes for this product. The process time starts after the water in the canner comes to a full boil over the tops of the jars. That last sentence applies if you are doing traditional water bath canning. I'm going to be using steam canning, my steam canner. Now, I did have some concerns with steam canning this because of that caution. When you're steam canning, you're obviously using less water. I did contact my friends who teach food preservation, and they are certified master food preservers, and they assured me that it is fine to steam can it, but the rules still apply. You don't want the water in the bottom of your steam canner to be any hotter than 180 degrees. You want to bring it up slowly to your green zone in your steam canner. If you are doing traditional water bath canning, you want to slowly bring up the temperature to a full rolling boil before you start your processing time. For either method, to get to your process start time, it should take approximately 25 to 30 minutes. I hope that makes sense. I read it directly from here first, and then I tried to explain it in my own words here. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that or concerns, leave me a comment and I will try to further explain that. Bringing your water up to the proper temperature to start your processing time is a part of the processing time in this case. Because there is dairy in this product, we're using butter, we're using eggs. It's really, really important that we follow the instructions to the letter of the law. All right, a couple more things that I want to point out that I think are really important, and I will leave a link to the recipe from the National Center of Home Food Preservation in the description box below so you guys can read it all for yourself. The preparation notes, as I stated briefly before, if you cannot find superfine sugar, they recommend running granulated sugar through a grinder or food processor for 1 minute to get it finer, but they caution do not use powdered sugar. Bottled lemon juice is used to standardize acidity. I talked about that. Fresh lemon juice can vary in acidity and it is not recommended. I already mentioned that. The other thing that I want to point out here, the shelf life of this, when you can it, is only 3 to 4 months. Browning and or separation may occur with longer storage. Discard anytime these changes are observed. So make sure as you are storing it, you keep an eye on your jars. If it starts to separate or change color, you want to toss it and not eat it. So this is a product that is better eaten sooner rather than later. So always keep that in mind. You can always freeze this instead if you prefer. But I did want to demonstrate how to can it because I've had so many of you ask me about canning it. I talked about the variation where you could substitute lime for the lemon juice and zest. But again, and I stated this previously, other citrus or fruit curds are not recommended for canning at this time. So don't substitute any other citrus fruit, including oranges, in this recipe. Lemon or lime only. So I'm gonna bring you in close and we're gonna get started. Okay guys, we are all set. I've prepped all of my ingredients. In my stainless steel bowl, I have 7 egg yolks and 4 whole eggs. We're gonna whisk those together. All right, you want that fully combined, and then we are going to add our sugar and lemon zest. Again, that's 2.5 cups of sugar and about 1/2 cup of zest. The zest is optional. Then we're going to add 1 cup of bottled lemon juice. All right, you want to make sure that is fully combined. And then we're going to add in our chilled butter pieces. All right, then we are ready to add to our double boiler. I don't know if this is coming across very well on screen, but I had my lid on my pan and I've just brought it to a gentle simmer. We're gonna put our egg mixture, our curd, on here and let the steam gently cook our curd. You just want your water barely simmering in your double boiler, and then we're just going to keep stirring continuously so that nothing sticks on the bottom until our curd reaches 170 degrees. Okay guys, I cooked my curd until it reached 170 degrees. Now the instructions are to remove it from the heat and continue stirring until it starts to thicken. You will feel it thicken some as you're cooking it and bringing it up to the 170 degrees. As I got closer to the 170 degrees, you could really feel some resistance on your spoon. It took me about 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes to get there. The first 5 minutes your butter is melting, and then the temperature starts increasing, and you can see it has started to thicken and it's still really hot. So we're gonna let it sit here for a few minutes, really get some good thickening going on, and then we're gonna strain it, and then we are all set for canning. Okay guys, I've let it cool for about 5 minutes. I've stirred almost continuously per the instructions from the National Center of Home Food Preservation. So now we want to strain it. So I'm just going to use my fine mesh strainer over a glass bowl, and we're going to pour it through here. So you're just going to stir it until all of your curd goes through your mesh strainer. And then we are all set for canning. You do want to start or make sure everything is ready to can before you start the process of making your curd. I have 3 quarts of water in the bottom of my steam canner per my canner's instructions. And I just checked the temperature. It's about 180 degrees, which is where we want to start. We do not need to pre-sterilize our jars or our lids. I just washed them really well and set them aside. I have kept my jars hot in my canner while my water was heating. So we are good to go here in just a second. So you want it to go through your strainer. All you have left is the zest. All right, I've got my hot jars here. I'm just gonna pour in my curd. Typically, when we use jelly jars, it's 1/4 of an inch, but for our curd, we want 1/2 of an inch. All right, I overfilled mine just a tad, so I took just a little bit out. There's really nothing to debubble because it's all liquid, so we're gonna skip that step. I'm going to use a paper towel dipped in white vinegar to wipe our rims. We don't want anything to interfere with a good seal, and that curd is absolutely delicious. Delicious and amazing. We're gonna center our lids, then add our bands to fingertip tight. Okay guys, I didn't have quite enough curd to make the 4th jar, so that's gonna be for me to use up and enjoy its yumminess. So I have 3 full jars in my canner. I checked the temperature of my water. It is at 180 degrees. If you are water bath canning this, you wanna make sure you have enough water in your canner to cover your jars by at least 1 inch. The instructions, as I pointed out in the beginning, for proper processing is we want it to take 25 to 30 minutes to come up to the correct temperature for our processing times. If you are water bath canning this the traditional way, you want it to come up to a full rolling boil before you start your processing time. Still should take 25 to 30 minutes. Those of you who are steam canning, it should take 25 to 30 minutes for you to get in your green zone for you to start timing this. We are going to process for 15 minutes and then I will bring you back. All right guys, so I processed for 15 minutes. Like I talked about, make sure you are cautious with the amount of time it takes for it to come up to the proper processing time before you start, or come up to the proper temperature before you start your processing time. I just wanted to show you how beautiful it is. So pretty. I had some left over, so I thought I'd give you a little sneak peek of what it's like after. This was not canned, it's what I had left. I didn't have enough to can up another jar, but it has cooled. And it's so pretty. Sunshine in a jar, and it tastes phenomenal. This was worth isn't really work. It's just, there are some precautions you need to take. It's not really hard to do at all, but it's thick and it's creamy. Just delicious. So, I hope you'll give it a try. I tried my best to fully explain everything that you need to do with all the precautions and all that. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, guys.